you know, when people take a little bit of vanilla extract and a little bit of sugar and they marinate fresh fruits of the season. It's that, but it's kind of kicked up a notch. And it's got some fun flavors as we build it together that you're gonna go, what in the world? But once you make it, you're gonna go, aha. You're gonna have an aha moment. Really, once you learn how to make this marinade and you taste it, because you're gonna look and go, what in the world is this guy doing? And then you make it at home and you taste it and you have that aha moment that I was telling you about. This marinade, before you add fruit to it, you can do whatever you want. I've made cocktails at the restaurant before that are really good, but let's make this marinade. I'm gonna make the fruit soup and you're gonna have to go, what in the world, this doesn't make sense, have that aha moment, and then you're gonna come give me a high five and say it was awesome, and then you're gonna have it at the house all the time. Sugar. Water. So like a basic simple syrup. Fresh vanilla beans. It has to be fresh vanilla beans. Don't use extract, don't use paste, blah, blah, blah. Use vanilla beans, because you're basically gonna make, or you're starting off making a simple syrup infused with vanilla. You got a vanilla bean. You put on get the butt end of your knife, flatten it. Split it in half, and then where it's split in half, push down. Scrape the back end, you get all that yumminess. God, that smells so good. I think this really is like some of my favorite flavors are the combinations of like lime and orange and vanilla, and I think I got it from when I learned how to make this dessert. So now we've got our water, our sugar, and our vanilla beans. And you got the whole vanilla bean in there because there's a lot of flavor in here. There's a lot of oils in here that give you that really good, you'll see that like vanilla almost gives you like this cool mouthfeel that's really neat. And I'm gonna mix this up, and then we're just gonna put this on the stove. Something sweet, dessert wine in the late harvest Riesling Sauterne world. You're probably not gonna find a Sauterne because most Sauternes are so crazy expensive. But this is a really good one that we have at the store. A lot of restaurants use this by the glass. Hogue has a late harvest Riesling, and they've got a couple other varietals. I think this is $10 and it works really well. I have to compensate a little bit in the sugar that I add with the simple syrup because I need a little more sugar from this, that it's not there, but the flavor that I need from the wine is there. So it's about a cup and a half, 2 cups. And then our fresh juice program, about a 1/4 cup of lime juice. And then our fresh squeezed OJ. That's a cup and a half as well. Now this is where you go, what in the world is this guy doing? But just trust me, it's awesome. It's a beautiful thing. I'm just going to take my basil, and since we're ultimately going to puree this, I'm just rough chopping this so it blooms faster. And you add that to it. And then, for this recipe, you want the greenest bananas you can get. So where you would use super ripe, almost or about to throw away bananas for banana bread, you're going to use the bananas that you got at the store today that you want to last for a week, the greenest, most least ripe bananas that you can get. Because that green, like not ripe banana flavor really comes into play with this marinade. And then you're just gonna chop these up, and then you're gonna add it to your marinade. Okay, now we're gonna check our simple syrup. Everything's dissolved. So everything's mixed up, everything's kind of blooming. That heat isn't too hot to take away those beautiful ripe flavors, but it's warm enough to bloom and bring those flavors together. And then I'm just gonna bring these vanilla beans back. Now, what you can do, and it's not a bad idea, because you don't want to waste it, is just put your vanilla beans on the cutting board. So after you puree it and you have your marinade and it's cooling off or sitting in the cooler, you can put your vanilla beans in there, and I like to think that you'll continue to get flavor from the vanilla beans as they're in the cooler. If you've got a hand wind and you don't have like a daiquiri machine or blender kind of thing, that would work fine. I want to get it as smooth as possible. And I always fill it up no more than halfway, because the more volume that's in there, the less smooth it's going to get, if you will. And then also, if you're dealing with hot things, there's no reason to take any chances of building pressure in there. So we'll do that. Put our lid on there. Yep. So I learned this from a German pastry chef in the Carolinas, Chef Vinny. He was awesome. And I learned this as a constructed like restaurant dessert, but I've played around with cocktails with this, and it's really good. Like if you're playing around with maybe a summer margarita or a fun like unique martini or something. So now what we're going to do is I put the vanilla beans back in there. We're going to let this get cold. So just put it in the refrigerator, let it get good and cold. So I've got our marinade that we pureed, we cooled off. This marinade, as a fruit soup for this dish, the colder you can get this, the better. Like I know the restaurant that I used to work in that we did this, we kept this on an ice bath all night. Because it's just that crisp, it just makes it that much more crisp. So I've got Texas blueberries. We've got some strawberries. And this, for the fruit soup, guys, do whatever fruit you like. These are kind of your usual suspects. And in the restaurant world, I would always kind of do the usual suspects just so it's most user-friendly. And the uniqueness comes from the aha moment of tasting the basil with ice cream and orange juice and a fresh Sauterne. Like that's where the uniqueness comes into play. So we got our berries here. And this is good to let marinate for a couple of hours, but no more than a couple hours, because then the acidity from all that citrus in there starts to eat up the fruit and take away where I think it's really cool to have all those fun textures of the different fruits. We're going to get fancy on you guys, and we're going to do a really nice chop called chiffonade, which is just really, really, really thin ribbons. And this just gives it a nice kind of finesse finishing touch, but also too, it gives it a nice little burst of basil, which sounds weird, but there's the aha moment. Okay, so all you need here for the fruit soup is the marinade with the fruit, and then I have gelato here. We make gelato at the store, and a lot of you may know that you can buy gelato, come and get a cup of gelato, but you can also buy it bulk, and there's some pretty good discounts of buying it by the pint or by the quart, and that's what I did here. So we're going to pour some of this marinade in there, and plenty of berries. So if you don't have a plain frozen yogurt, a vanilla bean, something plain like that, don't get too far outside the box of homemade vanilla or vanilla bean or something like that, is really good. But again, I just want to make a pretty strong emphasis on this. A plain soft serve frozen yogurt is really good. If you ever need it or you like the idea of doing it, make sure you call ahead of time at Fresh, ask for me, and I'll make sure we get some made for you. So then all you're going to do is you got an ice cream scoop, or we'll do kind of like we'll try and get a pretty little Cornell here. And put that right on top. And then you got these pretty little ribbons of fresh basil. We're going to make it rain some fresh basil. Take that big one off of there. And there we go. That's a really simple way, guys, to make a really nice, complex dessert. It doesn't look like that, but once you make this and you try it, you're going to have that aha moment and go, Wow, that is so crazy how that all comes together and tastes so good. So please, please try this at home and let me know how it is.